सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. ॐ.
So I've never articulated this out loud. I don't know why that makes me nervous, but so some years back, I had gotten to a point in my life after many years of reading every book written. I had gotten to a point where I was suffering, and I had it, and I got to this point where I had it, and I had a moment where I sat down and I took on my mind. I analyzed it and watched each thought, and in a short period of time, I transcended my mind and saw my true nature, saw that Cheryl never existed. And of course, that was life-changing. So I went through the next years of my life mostly pretty euphoric. I no longer had this base suffering that I had for so many years. And so that was really great. And then as years went on, I started recognizing, I call it the duality of non-duality. I was in this place of watching this person who had transcended the mind. And that in itself started a little bit more suffering. And I went back to kind of my books and was reading, and I thought, I don't want to forget who I am, the truth. So I just kept reading to reinforce that. And then one day there was a shift in my perception, and everything became me. Everything arose from me. And so that was now about 5 years ago. And now I realize I'm kind of just floating through life, and I don't really know who I am, what's going on. It's not really a problem unless I think about it, but that's where the confusion comes in about my practice. So I feel like if I'm meditating or I'm trying or I'm reading books, all this is effort, and I think, who's making this effort? And why am I making this effort? I'm reinforcing a separate self by making this effort. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I was wondering if you had any feedback for me on that, and where and how I should proceed from here.
Yes. Most of the people who became seekers of self-realization, they started somehow like that, because it is a great shock for what we call the ego or the individual identity. So because it is a great shock, it creates a lot of different phenomena like those you have described. In that point of life, it is very much recommended that you will choose a path which is very much you feel that it is good for you, and a guru where you feel that is the appropriate for you. And you must focus on one tradition, because most of the time the seekers become confused because they do mixing. They listen some videos in YouTube, they buy some books from different tradition, then they listen different gurus from different traditions, or even from the same tradition, and then there is a big mess in the mind. So what is recommended is to make a choice and follow one spiritual path and one guru, and focus only on that. And you will see sooner or later that this will bring a great result. And will give a lot of fruition, spiritual fruition, and you will feel great. Because it is like we have a ship in the sea, in the ocean, without, let's say, a direction, a destination, a captain. And the ship, what will happen, according to the waves and according to the air, will go to this direction, and then to this direction, and this to this direction with no any destination. So there is destination, there is goal. It is the goal of self-knowledge, the goal of self-realization, enlightenment, or moksha. Somebody must see, must understand deeply, profoundly, that what I am is not an individual identity. It is not a body-mind complex or an ego or a person. But what I am is infinite awareness consciousness, or Brahman, according to our tradition in Advaita Vedanta. But this have to be, sooner or later, must be the truth of yours. And it has to be really accepted without any protest and without any doubts in the heart of your heart. And for this, a competent guru, who himself was a sishya of another competent guru in an authentic spiritual tradition, or Guru Parampara or Sampradaya, will direct you, will guide you, and with scriptural study, what we say as Sravanam, Mananam, and Nidhi Dhyasanam, and the Vedantic Meditation Nidhi Dhyasanam, you will end up in this wonderful enlightenment, self-realization, or moksha. Then there is guarantee and the promise from the scriptures of Advaita Vedanta, the Upanishads, that if you follow these instructions without removing any of the constituents of these instructions, then there is guarantee, there is this promise that you will have self-realization. Actually,
So,
yes, please.
So I mean, I feel without a doubt, I mean, so I know Cheryl does not exist. I mean, I know that, I saw it. I could never unsee what I saw and experienced and felt. So where am I? What is the goal? I mean, I'm not embodying that, I guess, every waking moment, but I can never not know that. I wake up every single day actually kind of surprised that I'm here. Like, why am I here if I don't exist? So it's a little mentally confusing because I am very clear that I don't exist.
Yeah,
so
exactly. This has to be the first step. This is not the end step. You have completed, graduated from this class of recognizing that you are not the body-mind complex, you are not Cheryl. Now you have to proceed. You have to go to the next classes until you end up in the postdoctorate class where you say, I am Brahman, with no any doubts, no any reservations anymore. I know that I'm infinite, impersonal consciousness awareness. This has to be your own truth, not just an information that you have received from a YouTube video or a book or a guru or a book.
Well, I mean, I experienced this. My mind stopped and I was on the other side of it. Or
yes.
Yeah,
it has to be a permanent recognition and also conviction that what I am is this non-dual, impersonal consciousness awareness called Brahman in our tradition of Advaita Vedanta. And for this to be this permanent recognition and conviction, you need all the tools, the methodology, and the help, the possible help that you can receive from a guru and the Guru Parampara and the scriptural study, the entire tradition. It can happen. It is guaranteed. There is a very strong promise that if you follow all these instructions, you will end up very soon on this permanent recognition and conviction. But you should not mix with any other gurus or traditions or books or videos or anything. Just focus, choose one Guru Parampara, an authentic lineage, and just focus on that, nothing else. No any mixing will help.
So as far as, like moving forward, as far as like meditation, so so right now, my whole life, meditation, I sit for half an hour often, but I don't know what I'm really accomplishing. I mean, some insights bubble up, but mostly I think that's just my opportunity to let the mind kind of stop, quiet down. And I'm just kind of, sitting more in a comfortable, blissful state, but I don't know what I'm accomplishing.
Yes, I understand. This is a very important topic, and millions of people, they believe or they have wrong conceptions about what really means meditation. Meditation is not to relax or to have peacefulness or thoughtlessness or a kind of blissfulness. No, these are very well as a preparation. You can have them, but you should not stop on this level. You should go further. You should do this leap of going towards self-knowledge. Yes, this can help as a preparation. This can help as a nice atmosphere for you, but sooner or later, you should move forward to the next leap, which is to recognize and to have conviction of your true nature. So in our tradition, in Advaita Vedanta, we are suggesting that Nidhi Dhyasanam, which is the Vedantic meditation, should be done with the context and the instructions and the teaching, which is sequentially previously from Sravanam and Mananam. So you receive Sravanam, which means you study and you are listening to the teaching with the guidance of the competent guru. This is Sravanam. Then you proceed to what we call Mananam, and this is that with the guru, you sit down together in Satsanga and you remove all your doubts, all your questions. So you should not have any reservations of the teaching, should be crystal clear and create clarity. And then the third phase is what we call the Nidhi Dhyasanam, the Vedantic meditation. So in this kind of Vedantic meditation, you have something to work upon. You have what we call the Mahavakyams Upadesa, which means that these great statements, this is what it means, you have received from the Guru Parampara, and the scriptural study of the tradition. And now you need this truth to make it the truth of yours in the heart of your heart. You must internalize it. You must grasp it. You must swallow it. You must make this truth so clear and so your own truth that there are no anymore any doubts or any reservations. And by doing that, sooner or later, this truth will be permanent. You will have a permanent recognition and conviction, even during the very difficult circumstances of life. Let's say you miss somebody, there is a death of what we call death, because actually there is no death. But you heard that a beloved person is passing away. At this moment, you will be able to know very well that there is no death. And this beloved person cannot die, because it is your own true nature as consciousness. And consciousness cannot die. And somebody is insulting you. So you lose your career, you lose your job, you don't have any money. Very, very difficult situations. You will be able, even in these extreme situations, to remember and to know without any reservations that what I am is infinite consciousness awareness. And you will gain like that the permanent peace, bliss, and happiness that is your true nature. So we, in this tradition, we work like this way. Other paths, they are working with other ways. But in our path, we work like that. So the meditation should not stop in relaxation or peacefulness or thoughtlessness or silence. That is a wonderful preparation, a great preparation, yes. But you should make the leap and recognize and make the great Mahavakyams, the great statements, your own truth. And this is the leap, this is the contemplation and the absorption of the truth in the Vedantic meditation.
Okay, so do you have a suggestion for me now? So, I mean, I'm meditating every day and I'm doing how I just explained to you. What do I do differently? What am I focusing on, or what am I doing?
Yes, you can use the familiar ways of relaxing that you already are using. You can use any kind of preparation that helps you. But sooner or later, when you feel that you are in a particular preparation, then you must proceed. You must proceed and use the Mahavakyams as a tool, like Aham Brahmasmi, which is the mantra or the great statements, I am Brahman, I am impersonal consciousness awareness. And try this truth to make it your own truth. Try to recognize that truth. Try to see that during your meditation, there is only that, this substratum that you are. And the more you do that, the more it will stay and be stabilized. It must be the truth of your heart, in the heart of your heart. It must be something that it is not only an information, data that you have received from somebody. Like you are very much relaxed, you have peacefulness, you have thoughtlessness. And now I need to see, since I cannot find anywhere Cheryl or this body-mind complex or this ego or this individual identity, I want to see what I'm really. Okay, I have graduated from the class and I know that I'm not Cheryl. I'm not an individual identity. Yes, but I need to find what I am. Okay. And I will find out what I am through the Vedantic meditation, which is contemplation, which is the direction of thoughts, not thoughtlessness. First of all, we do direction of thoughts towards the great absolute truth of Mahavakyams, the great statements, such as Aham Brahmasmi or Tat Tvamasi, I am that. And by recognizing and being in conviction that you are that in the Vedantic meditation. So you take the great statements, Mahavakyams, and you try to make them your own truth in the heart of your heart.
And I really enjoy reading. I'm a pretty prolific reader. Is there any particular books that reinforce that or that I could be reading?
Yes, in our tradition, we focus very much on creating a very stable foundation, a very good preparation for the absolute truth of the Upanishads. And for that, we have a methodology. We have a lot of tools and a lot of scriptures which can create a kind of preparation, a good foundation. And these scriptures are the Bhagavad Gita and Introduction to Vedanta through Tattva Bodha. You can download these transcripts of my guru, Swami Paramarthananda, from the Avinash's platform. And you can focus on this foundation, creating this foundation. And in parallel, since you are also following the classes, you can also study in parallel these classes that you are participating as well. But for example, Vivekachudamani and Astavakra Gita are very, very advanced. So you cannot grasp them if you don't have a great foundation, a great preparation. If you want to do and to follow these classes, you are welcome, but not alone, only through the guidance of a guru, only through great help you can grasp. For example, Vivekachudamani is one of the profound scriptures, and we call it Prakarana Granthas, which are scriptures written from great acharyas, great gurus of our tradition, as a help, providing help of the profound understanding of the Advaita Vedanta scriptures, the Upanishads. And then Astavakra Gita is a scripture which is completely a Nidhi Dhyasanam scripture, the Vedantic Meditation scripture. So it is not providing Sravanam or Mananam. It does not provide any teaching or any clarification of the teaching. It provides Mahavakyams themselves, the great statements, the absolute truth in verses. So you can use these verses for the Vedantic meditation, for the absorption of the great teaching. It is, but for example, Bhagavad Gita, we can consider it that it is a Sravanam scripture. It gives teaching and it gives foundation. It is like a summary of the Upanishads. And so on and so forth. Each scripture has can be put in this kind of categorization. Astavakra Gita is a scripture that can be followed after many, many years of great preparation. But if you want to dedicate enough time per day and regularly and systematically with the guidance of a guru, you can manage and you can grasp, if not 100% of the scripture, at least a good percentage of this understanding. So if you combine these classes and this study with, let's say, a private satsanga with a guru, then you can manage, then you can handle, you can grasp, but not alone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't work anymore, so I have a lot more time, and kids are grown up.
Then you can dedicate more time, more effort, and more study, and more practice, more sadhana, spiritual practices, and you can manage, you can handle it, of course, through the help of a guru.
Okay. Then I want to mention one other thing about me, and what's gone on throughout my life is a little unusual, and also something I don't usually articulate because of the response most people would give me. But when I was 13 years old, I became lucid in a dream, and I was given a life choice. And I don't know who this voice was, my higher self or whatever, but I was given a choice to basically live in the illusory world, or to choose a path of God. And I chose the path of God, and then woke up at 13 years old having no idea what that was all about, kind of forgot about it for years. And then years later, I opened a book. Actually, it was in this dream also, that monkey character Hanuman was there. And years later, the first time I saw that character Hanuman, I realized, wait a minute, I recognize this guy. And then I remembered the dream. And so that's kind of what started my spiritual path. And so maybe I was 22 or something at that time. And so then I started reading books and was very lost, and had a lot of suffering going on from my childhood circumstances. But by the time I was 30, I started having out-of-body experiences all the time. And I spent so up until today, it's very different, but I it was accelerated during the first 5 to 10 years. And I had hundreds of out-of-body experiences where I mean, to me, it's another side of me. I'm so familiar with the non-physical world. And I'm just wondering if you've ever, what your opinion is on that. It's something that's actually sacred to me. I feel like I know what happens after we die. I know where we go. I've been through all these realms. I've been shown things about my energetic body and being just energy. And it was quite a ride. And in the last few years, it's really kind of slowed down, which is what kind of drove me more towards meditation. I felt like I was kind of done maybe with that world. I've seen whatever's meant to be shown to me. I do still have communication with the newly departed. When people pass, I don't do anything to try to do it, but they do tend to come visit me. Mostly when they've just died. I usually don't see them, maybe a couple times only right after they die, and I don't usually see them again. So I'm just curious your opinion on all of that.
Yes, a lot of people, they have such kind of phenomena, or what we call see this and read this, the occult power or powers or mystical powers. But this should not be the goal of any of the seekers, because themselves can be a great trap and a great obstacle to self-realization, enlightenment, or moksha. So obviously, because of previous engagement of such practices, you have achieved certain yogic powers. But these yogic powers, you should abandon them. They can work only as an obstacle. They can work only as a trap. They keep the mind on these levels, these options of the mind. Whatever you have as an experience is only on the level of the mind. Your true nature cannot be experienced. Your true nature cannot be objectified. So whatever you have as experiences are only on the level of the mind. And the sooner, the better. You abandon all these practices or all these phenomena or experiences. Because the ultimate goal is to recognize and to have the permanent conviction that what you are is beyond the mind, is the substratum of consciousness, awareness, Brahman. So it is my high recommendation that you should focus on Nidhi Dhyasanam, the Vedantic Meditation, and Sravanam and Mananam, and try to avoid this kind of practices. They cannot lead anywhere. We don't need these experiences for self-realization. What we really are is beyond all these kinds of experiences. And even more, because some of those experiences can bring a lot of blissfulness, they can trap us in this level of enjoying this bliss. But this bliss that you can enjoy through this kind of trips is only impermanent. It comes, it goes, it comes, it goes. But your true nature, your true bliss, as Satchitananda, which is your true nature, is always permanent, and it is what you really are. So if you really want what we call self-realization, enlightenment, or moksha, sooner or later you should try to avoid anything that has to do with mystical powers, read this, see this, and all kinds of trips in these realms. Because all the realms that you can see and visit are only on the level of samsara, are only on the level of appearances. They are not permanent. We call them in Advaita Vedanta mithya, which means impermanent, not actually true, only projections of the mind. So all these realms are experiences of different jivatmas, and there are realms which are really appearing as real, but in reality, the absolute truth is beyond these realms, beyond samsara.
I mean, I never, it happens to me whether, I don't really control it. I mean, there was a time that I encouraged it in the beginning. But yeah, it just kind of happens. But I must say, I feel like it contributed to that initial awakening experience, because I had already felt it by being out of body. I, on a couple of occasions, was merged with Source, and knew that feeling. And I also knew that I was non-physical from being so many years awake while I slept. That's kind of an odd feeling, and most people don't do that, so it woke up a non-physical part of me, I felt. So I don't regret it. I guess I'm maybe reading too much into what you're saying. I don't want to feel like I did something bad, I guess. I feel like it contributed. Fortunately, it has stopped, other than just seeing when people die. But I don't go to Source anymore when I sleep, that I know. I'm just not lucid when I'm sleeping anymore. I used to be awake when I slept, and I'm not anymore. So yeah, so that's fine, and that's
Yes, of
why
course. Of course, it can be a good contribution in, as you said yourself, in the initial stage. Gives a kind of recognition that there is not only what people believe as solid matter, when in reality there is no matter in the first place, and there is no any solidity in the first place. So yes, it may give you this contribution in the initial stage, but I believe that you should now have graduation from these experiences or these trips. So when they do appear, just don't give any importance, would be my advice, my suggestion. Just let them appear and disappear, but try to avoid to cultivate or to encourage all these experiences, because actually they cannot give you anything at all. On the contrary, they keep you on that level of samsara, of mind projections. And even the mind itself does not exist. What we call mind is only a bundle of thoughts. They're only waves, which are called vrittis, the waves. These waves of the thinking we call mind, or vasanas, tendencies of the mind. But in reality, there is no such thing as mind itself, as an identity or as something concrete. In reality, nothing is concrete, nothing is solid, and there is no anything like matter or as such. What is there is absolute consciousness, awareness. Nothing else apart from that is the ultimate reality. And this is what you really are as well. So when you speak, for example, as expressions like the source or God, it is you. It is your own self. Or when you speak about the higher self, there is no actually higher or lower self. There is only the self with capital S. And this is your true nature as Brahman, as infinite impersonal consciousness awareness. And you have been always that. And you will always be that. And there is only that. There are no others. There is no universe. There are no beings. There are no objects. Nothing exists like that as such. All these are only appearances in the substratum of your true self, of you, the screen, the consciousness, awareness, Brahman. And the more you focus on that truth, the more closer you come to what we call self-realization, enlightenment, or moksha. You have been always that. You have been always nitya mukta, we say in Advaita Vedanta, eternally a liberated one, as Brahman, as infinite impersonal consciousness awareness. Only there is what we call the veiling of Maya, the thinking process, which does not allow you to recognize that and to have conviction of that. And this is what Advaita Vedanta is doing. It is removing this veiling of the thinking process, of the false conceptions. that I am something like an individual being or individual person or an ego or a mind or something like that. So these misconceptions should be removed because they are only illusion. They are illusory belief systems, and we call them as namarupa, names and forms, or labels, or thought forms, or concepts. This is the great work that you can do, to remove all these labels, all these misconceptions of what you truly are. Like God is your own self. There is no higher self or lower self. There is only the self, and this is what you are. There are no others. There is no universe. There are no beings, no objects. But this has to be the truth of your, in the heart of your heart, not something that now you are hearing it from a guru or from a book or from a YouTube videos or an audio or whatever. It should be your own truth in the heart of your heart.
All right. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, so I experienced, no Cheryl, but it is more that I know what I'm not than know what I am. I definitely know what I'm not. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not concepts. I'm not a human being. I know that. I'm not a personality. So then the second experience I had where I think I read a sentence somewhere, and all of a sudden everything kind of aligned and everything came out of me, like I was everything. But it still had this sense of being me, like me. That was a little confusing, how everything came out of me when I felt like there was a little personality still attached there in that moment, but it definitely felt, and I can, like right now when I say that, I can go to that place, but I don't live from that place, but I can go to that place. I know what that feels like when I just look out into the world and everything is me. That's a place I could sit and always come back to if I wanted. Well, and I do actually, that probably is my default. I try to come back to my breath and that everything arises in me. Is that a good place to rest during the day?
Yes, it is. It is a nice practice, but you can also move forward and do it in a more concrete manner. Like try to recognize that what is watching all the activities of the body-mind complex called Cheryl does not have any location, and it is beginningless and endless. It is vast and huge and without any location. So, for example, right now, there is something in inverted commas which is watching this apparent dialogue between two apparent individuals. What is watching right now and has this awareness of this apparent dialogue, try to recognize that it does not have any location. So this presence, this awareness, consciousness cannot be imprisoned in the skull of Cheryl. It is not behind the eyes in the skull, in the body-mind complex called Cheryl. It is completely without any address, without any location. So the more you recognize that during the day, the better, the more often. Actually, sooner or later, it will become a permanent recognition and conviction. And you can do that practice whether the body is walking or eating or speaking or working or whatever. This moment should be this total recognition and conviction that what is watching, the witnessing consciousness, Satchitananda, does not have any location. It is not imprisoned in the body or in the skull. And this recognition also and conviction can be done also during the sitting meditation, Vedantic meditation, Nidhi Dhyasanam, recognizing and having this conviction that, yes, I'm not Cheryl, I'm not a body-mind complex, but I'm this witnessing consciousness, which is aware right now that this body is sitting down in meditation, that this body is in this room, And I'm not this body. I am the witnessing consciousness, Satchitananda. And the more often during the day you do this practice, the better. Because it will remove this false belief that I am this body-mind complex. And what I am is inside this skull, behind the eyes, behind the nose, in the skull, which is a great illusion. What you are cannot be inside the skull, behind the eyes or behind the nose, or even in the room, or even in what we call the universe. The universe appears and disappears in this infinite consciousness awareness. And it is always the same. It is unchanging, unmodified. It does not have a say. It is formless. It doesn't have a beginning point or an ending point. Actually, space and time are also concepts. In reality, there is no such thing as space and time. There are only labels out of the thinking process. So what you really are is beyond space and time, beyond any forms, and beyond any appearances. And this has to be your work of having this as a great recognition and conviction on a permanent basis. And then when this permanent recognition and conviction is lasting for years without even a second that you miss this permanent recognition and conviction, then you can play also the role of a guru, an external guru, and transmit this teaching to apparent others. And this is what we call self-realization, enlightenment, or moksha. It is not something that you create anew. You are already that. You need only to recognize that and have conviction on a permanent basis. It's not something like an event in space-time continuum. Yes, it appeared an event, and from then on I became enlightened, and everything changed, and things like that, which all the fake teachers are selling. Enlightenment, self-realization, or moksha cannot be an event in space-time continuum. Because if it would be something like that, that would mean that it is not permanent, that it is something that comes and goes. But you, as infinite consciousness awareness Brahman, is always nitya mukta, eternally free, eternally self-realized, enlightened. This is what you are. And you need to recognize that and have permanent conviction about that. And for this reason are all the procedures that you can have, can be offered to you from our holy tradition. There are many tools, many procedures, like Sravanam, Mananam, and Nidhi Dhyasanam. And there are many also instructions. And there is this promise that sooner or later you will have this permanent recognition and conviction. If you, of course, you follow all the instructions.
Okay. I think I had a few, the main thing was, and thank you for that, because I just needed something to try, something to do. So the meditation, at least I can do that. And I'll add those new thoughts and way of being during my meditation, as well as just walking through life. So thank you. I had a couple more just questions that bother me sometimes. I don't know if you know this term, spiritual bypassing.
Yes, it is very much what they do in these circles of Neo-Vedanta, Neo-Advaita, and what it is called as non-dual teachers or non-duality path. These are only a tragedy. All these circles are only a tragedy. And that's why they have created to the people this spiritual bypassing. And all the people, they are now in great confusion, darkness, and ignorance. Because what they do in these circles is like extracting a small amount of teaching out of the entire context of Sanatana Dharma and the Upanishads and the holy tradition, the holy path, they extract what they like and they throw away all the rest. So it's like they take a drop from the ocean of the path and use that to make money and to impress others and to accumulate wealth and to become a so-called non-dual teachers or Neo-Vedanta teachers or Neo-Advaita teachers. The entire path of Sanatana Dharma and Advaita Vedanta has nothing to do with spiritual bypassing. On the contrary, it is reinforcing, there is the reinforcing of the Dharma Sastra, that you should follow a moral lifestyle, you should do your duties as a father, as a mother, as a professional, as a son, as a daughter, and so on and so forth. So nothing is bypassing when you follow the right path. But these people, they are sneaky. They want to exploit the teachings. So they take a small part, they are selling it due to their ego gratification needs, and they confuse people. And that's why we have this phenomenon called spiritual bypassing. And the problem is that it is very difficult for all these millions of people who are following these fake paths to recognize the truth, because it is mixed with some kind of truth. There are lies together with some kind of truth from the scriptures. It is a very sneaky mixing. So because they want to attract egos, they want to attract body-mind complexes and take their money. So what they do is they are presenting Advaita Vedanta or non-duality as something very, very easy, something that doesn't need any struggle, any effort, something that it needs only to buy their retreats, to buy their books, their webinars, and to follow them as your teacher, as your guru. So they present it so easy and so graspable in order to become millionaires. And there are thousands of fake teachers like that who are now millionaires or even billionaires. And this happened because of their misbehaving and misappropriating of the teachings. So they take, for example, Ramana, the great sage Ramana Maharishi, and they take some of his works or his talks. And Ramana Maharishi said, you don't need to do anything at all. You are Brahman. You are already that. You don't need to create something anew. And they are selling that. And they are saying, you don't need to do anything. Just come in my retreats, buy my books, buy my retreats, buy my webinars. And that is enough. But Ramana Maharishi was not like a common person. How many are like Ramana Maharishi? Ramana Maharishi, in 16 years old, he had a death experience of his physical body. And after that experience, he asked, who am I? And he went for meditation in the forest and in the caves. But we know for sure, we believe in our tradition, that he had followed a spiritual tradition in his previous janmas, previous lifetimes. And certainly he had gurus in previous lifetimes. He only needed a click to finish these procedures. But how many are like Ramana Maharishi? So Ramana Maharishi never had a guru in his current lifetime. He never followed any Guru Parampara, a holy tradition. But nevertheless, he managed to be a jnani, a self-realized one. So they take his example and they are using it to make money. You don't need a Guru Parampara. You don't need to follow all the path. You just ask, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Like a parrot all day long. and that will do. And then all these egos, they are completely satisfied. They don't need to change anything in their bad lifestyle. They can continue drinking alcohol. They can continue having sexual misbehaving. They can steal. They can do whatever. Since these fake teachers say that you don't need to do anything at all. And look at Ramana Maharishi. He didn't have a guru, but he managed to become a gnani. So this phenomenon is really a tragedy of our current era. This misappropriating of the teachings, exploiting the teachings, selling the teachings, and using the teachings to have sense gratification. Most of these fake teachers, they are also full of sexual scandals. And they are having a luxurious lifestyle, which is not in accordance with Advaita Vedanta. You know, if you are an Advaitin and you know that all this world is just an illusion and your true nature is perfect and complete, then you don't care to accumulate wealth or to have sexual partners non-stop. And you don't care to have fame or to become a famous guru. You may share the teachings, but always free of charge, just because you love, just because of compassion. So what all this is happening now, spiritual bypassing, is due to these fake teachers, because they are spreading out to the people a misappropriating teaching. Unfortunately.
There's also, I've noticed there's another way that that word is being used right now in a slightly different way. So it's against all the teachings. So now there's a movement to not look at Advaita type teachings at all, because they in and of themselves, they call spiritual bypassing, because they believe anyone following Advaita is saying the world is an illusion, therefore you don't care about the hungry, the sick, that's spiritual bypassing by just calling everything an illusion. So that's prominent in my community, that nobody wants to follow Advaita anymore or listen to anyone who speaks like that, because you're turning your back on the poor.
Yes, I understand very well. And this is, as I mentioned earlier, due to the misappropriating that these fake teachers are propagating. So in Advaita Vedanta and in general in Sanatana Dharma, we have what we call the Dharma Sastram, where all these, what you mentioned about charity and about helping the community, about helping the environment and all the apparent living beings and everything, is highly recommended. And actually, it is one of the 4 purusarthas, which means the 4 human goals. So one is kama, which is desires. The other one is artha, which is accumulating of wealth for your family. The other one is dharma. And the last one, and the most advanced and absolute, is moksha, self-realization. So it is built in Sanatana Dharma, in the entire context of this path, charity and helping the fellow human beings and the entire ecosystem. So it is due to the misappropriating of these fake teachers that people are confused. And it doesn't mean that because this universe is a dream, that you should harm others or that you should not do charity. On the contrary, if you want to have a pleasant dream and not a nightmare, you must help. Not because, of course, to receive the rewards, but because this humanity, this dream of humanity and the dream of universe can become wonderful. You can enjoy this beautiful universe, even if it is a dream. It is like you prefer to see a wonderful dream than a nightmare. You see in your dream that an old woman fall down in the streets. And you go to help her to stand up, isn't it? Out of compassion. It doesn't mean that it is because there is dream that you will not help this old woman. It is the same with the big dream of life. We help as much as possible because this is reinforcing the dissolution of the illusory ego. Even if it is a dream, even if the ego does not exist in reality, we need to follow the Dharma Sastram, all these instructions about living a moral and spiritual lifestyle. It is highly recommended everywhere in the scriptures. The entire Bhagavad Gita speaks about a moral and spiritual lifestyle, how to be a perfect human being. Even if Krishna knows that this is a dream, it doesn't matter. And you can see, for example, that people who are leaders in this path, they are also following an advanced life of loka sangraham, which means doing as much as possible activities for the purification and upliftment and the benefit of society and humanity and the environment. For example, the Sringeri Jagat Gurus, the leaders of the tradition that we follow, all day long, they offer themselves service to humanity. All the rituals they don't do for themselves. They don't need to understand something further. They don't need to gain something for themselves. So they dedicate the rest of their lives into serving the humanity. And so, yes, this is the problem, the fake teachers, not the scriptures or the Advaita Vedanta path or Sanatana Dharma path in general.
So for me, I think where it comes into play, the spiritual bypassing is just because of the way that I hold the world. If someone comes to me and starts complaining about Donald Trump and this and that and the guns, and I tend to say, because I'm not going to do anything to change it, I can vote and I will vote, but I don't want to complain and talk about Donald Trump because I have no power to change it. There's nothing I can do. I have a certain awareness of the world events that I'm comfortable with. I want to be knowledgeable, but I just don't complain about it. I don't have hours of, back and forth and us all agreeing, whether anyway. So that's where then people have actually said to me, oh, if you don't want to speak out about Donald Trump, then you are spiritual bypassing because you're holding the position, that
it is a dream.
I feel like ultimately everything's going to be okay. I will still vote. I will live in a physical world. I will still help a lady who falls down in the road. I will do everything I can if somebody asks me for money or someone, I'm always going to do all that. But it's a very hot political environment in the US right now. And so it's just, I was starting to feel a little bad, like, am I really spiritual bypassing? Am I really, it's just such a common term right now to put on people if you're not ready to go out and march with a sign, and I just don't feel moved to do that. And so I don't know, is that because I feel reality is only relative? Am I going too much into that? I don't know.
No. It is right to focus on having self-realization and not to focus so much on the worldly things. You can vote, you can do your contribution, but without any exaggeration. For example, the greatest gift that somebody can offer to humanity is what? It is his or her own self-realization. This is the highest gift that you can offer to humanity. Take, for example, the life of the sage Ramana Maharishi. Because of him, millions of people, they are inspired to follow Advaita Vedanta and to follow a path for self-realization. So you can help humanity through your own self-realization. There is no need to help humanity through political means, through being engaged in political activism, politics. No, there is no reason for that. You do your contribution as much as you feel, and that is more than enough. And furthermore, it is the law of karma that it is highly mentioned in Sanatana Dharma in general and Advaita Vedanta. Even if this life is a dream, there is the law of karma. And if you harm others, even if it is a dream, you will get punishment. You will suffer in this lifetime and also in the next lifetimes. Of course, the lifetimes are dream lifetimes. They are also a dream. But the suffering will be there, even if it is a dream. So if you harm others, because everything is a dream, and you do the so-called spiritual bypassing, you will experience suffering. It is like you are in the dream state, and you look at a dream that you are harming somebody. And next moment, the same one is harming you, because there is the law of karma. Then you will experience suffering, even if it is a dream. The same with the big dream. Because there is a law of karma, some of your activities will create what we call papam, which means merits, which means bad karma, negative karma. And some of your activities and deeds and thinking will create what we call punyam, which means good karma, merits, which will follow you in this lifetime and in the next lifetimes. Anyway, even if it is a dream. So all these people that they speak about spiritual bypassing, actually they have never dedicated any time to study the traditional path of Advaita Vedanta or Sanatana Dharma. They just use this expression very superficially. They see some neo-Advaitins or some non-duality people, how they're acting, and they're speaking about this kind of spiritual bypassing. But they never dedicated any time to study and to see how is the real path, the authentic lineage. There is no such thing as spiritual bypassing in the authentic path. And furthermore, if you want to contribute in the society, in the humanity, is it better to curse the darkness or to light up a candle? I think it's better to light up a candle, isn't it? Yes. You can on and on and on cursing and speaking negatively about people, about politicians, about the wrong things in the planet, and so on and so forth. But does that will help? No. But what about if you use the same time of your free time to propagate authentic teachings for liberation? Then you are lighting up candles of the truth and of light. So rather than being somebody who is devoted, who is dedicating his life and his time into cursing the darkness or gossiping about the negative things in the planet, it is much, much better to offer to humanity teachings and light, and to help those who are propagating the right teachings to spread out more and more and more. Then your time will be not wasted. It will be worthy. For example, my guru, Swami Paramarthananda, he is propagating these teachings 40 years. And if you ask him for something wrong that is happening in the planet, he may not be aware of that. And so what? He is offering the highest teachings ever available in the planet for 40 years, free of charge. Is it not that enough?
Mm-hmm.
It is more than enough. Ramana Maharishi himself, he never went into strikes or any social activities, protests, or things like that. But that doesn't mean that he didn't offer something to humanity. He offered a lot of inspiration due to his great self-realization. So I believe rather than wasting the precious lifetime, even if it is a dream, it is better to dedicate this precious lifetime, human lifetime, into self-realization, towards self-realization and the propagation of these teachings to the planet, the real authentic lineage and the real path into towards the humanity. This is my opinion.
And lastly, on that, this is something that's kind of come to mind for a while now. I'm just curious. So on a higher level, the world and the manifestation of this world, people are, when it comes to spirituality, if there was a God, then why would there be so much violence, so much pain, so much suffering? And I read something once, I'm wondering if there's any truth to this. It just, for some reason, resonated with me, kind of the idea that you can't have this without that. Like, we live in this dual world of up and down and right and wrong. And so is it true that this could never be a Garden of Eden, because you cannot have love without hate? You cannot have war without peace. You must have all these elements. Are we a closed system like that, of duality?
Yes, according to Sanatana Dharma, there is the infinity of and recycling of what we call the yugas, the ages. And we have the golden age, we have the silver, the bronze, and the iron age. And these are always upon recycling. So again and again, there are these circles. And for example, in the golden age, there is much spirituality, much truth, a lot of light, a lot of beauty in humanity, in the planet, and so on and so forth. And then there is a degradation in the silver age, and then more degradation in the bronze age, and then more and more degradation in the Kali Yuga, like we live now. And again, the golden age will appear again. So there is this kind of circles which are beginningless. And this world is due to duality, and it will always be like that. But this is not so bad news, because you can remember that what you truly are is beyond this duality. The duality belongs to the mind and to the body-mind complex understanding. So if you have this duality in the proper perspective, that it cannot harm me, all this duality appears and disappears in the screen of what I am, consciousness, awareness, Brahman, then there is no problem. It's like are you going to the cinema for movies? Are you going to the cinema for movies? Mm-hmm. Yes, you go to the cinema for movies, and sometimes you may go to drama movies, isn't it? Not only comedies. So it is the same, you can use the same symbol for this universe. There are pleasurable moments and non-pleasurable moments, but both of them cannot harm the screen that you are. When there is a drama movie in the screen, in the cinema, the screen cannot be harmed. If there is a lot of blood in the movie, the screen will not get blood in it. If there is a waterfall or water or fire, the screen will remain the same. And it is the same. Say again?
Sorry. People work, I think what I see around is people are working so hard to make the world a better place. And I'm just wondering if, even though they may, want to promote not eating meat, and which for whatever reason, I do agree with that. And I don't know that it matters or not if people eat meat, but I just feel moved not to. And so I'm around people that want to protest about that. And so they, they want to make the, world a better place in that area. And in the world, it does look like things do get better in areas, and then simultaneously other things get worse. And I'm just, is that like literally a balance of the universe where,
there will be always what we call, even in the physics, action to reaction. And there will be always this kind of balance, like positive forces and also negative forces. These are mentioned in the scriptures when they speak about the devas and the asuras, the positive forces and the negative forces. This will always be in this apparent universe. So by trying to change the universe, you are just wasting your time, because it is like you want to be always summer or always spring, and to avoid the autumn and winter. It is just a joke, what you are doing, what you are trying to do. So rather, it is better to focus on self-realization and recognize that this is only a dream, and what you truly are is the screen whereupon the dream takes place, and you can never be harmed. What you really are have never been of any changing. It is always unmodified. All the rest is just a theater, just a movie.
I think the meeting's going to close shortly because I set it for an hour and a half.
Okay. That was actually it was actually perfect. I got every last little thing in there.
Okay. So you're most welcome to arrange again private satsanga with Andrew. And yes, continue if you like on this path.
Yes,
there is this promise and guarantee that if you follow all the instructions and if you are doing the work under the guidance of a competent guru, then there is this high promise, high guarantee that you will end up in this permanent recognition and conviction that what you are is this infinite impersonal consciousness awareness. You just need to follow the instructions. All are written down in the scriptures with full details. It is a complete path, a very direct path, and a very complete and very detailed path.
Yes, I feel moved to keep moving forward. It seems to have been the path of my life, that's from a very young age. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. You answered a lot of my questions. I'm glad Andrew recorded this because I'd like to hear it back. You have a lot of Sanskrit words I'm going to have to research.
Okay. Namaste. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः